it's pretty clear to me that the Prime Minister has almost surely been on the phone to the Premier and said, this is causing us a huge amount of problems with the voice. But the fact is, though, even if you get rid of these amendments, which have been so controversial, you're still going to be stuck with an act that can cause all sorts of issues. And I'm thinking about how, since 2019, Twiggy Forrest was trying to build a series of dams and weirs across his cattle property, and that was knocked back in a tribunal off the basis of these laws that will still exist, not the amended ones, on the basis that there was a spiritual water serpent that traveled this river. So you're still going to be, even if they get rid of these heritage amendments, you're still going to have a big problem with some of these rules, aren't you?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And there's a farmer in 2J that's been prosecuted for building a culvert over a creek. Look, going back to what you said, I think there's certainly been federal intervention here, and they'd be mad not to, because this is causing them an enormous amount of grief with regard to the voice. Now, people are simply saying, my God, if this is going to happen under this sort of legislation, where on earth might the voice take us to? And look, most of the work that's been knocked back, like Twiggy Forrest, this wasn't a major money-making exercise. This was really serious soil conservation, really water retention, absorption into the underground water system. There's been so much good work. The Canning River event, where those people that wanted to plant trees and they were blocked, and an Indigenous fellow there, I believe his name was David Collard, came out and stopped them doing that. Some friends of mine running a nursery in the wheat belt of Western Australia, selling trees for soil conservation works, had to send 55,000 trees to South Australia, because the people that were going to buy them were not game to do that. This is just so stupid that the world must be looking at us and shaking their head. But look, when it comes down to the old act, it hasn't been rigorously enforced. It is still a pretty dangerous piece of legislation. And it just may be that a vindictive government might simply crank them out and use them in a way they were never intended. So there's a lot of work to be done here, and I'd like clarification that this piece of legislation we're dealing with today has actually been withdrawn, because that's not clear.
And do you fear, Tony, that once the referendum is done and dusted and that's no longer hanging over the head of the federal government, that the WA government can just bring back the worst of these laws, the amendments that have caused so many problems, because post-referendum they've got a lot less to lose?
Well, look, that may happen, and I think the federal government is sitting there waiting to impose some sort of legislation over us as well. But look, there's a couple of things at play here. They call it the Aboriginal Cultural and Heritage Act. Heritage are the things on the ground, the things you can feel and touch, they're visible. The cultural gets back to the woggle, this mythical thing. This is like a religion. Yeah. And no other religion has the ability to enforce its beliefs over the community. The concept of this mythical thing that they call the woggle, the river serpent, that is a belief system that they well should have. It's not a problem, it's theirs, but they ought not have the power to inflict this on the rest of us, especially when it will cost us hundreds of millions of dollars to try and comply with this mythology.
So, Tony, we'll put the corks back in the bubbly and we'll wait till we get clarification of exactly what is happening in WA. So we'll speak again soon. Great to chat to you now.
It's an unfolding story, and to a certain extent, we're almost relishing what they're doing here, because they're allowing a debate to occur that would never have happened if they hadn't been quite so stupid as to put this piece of legislation at play. And the longer they drag it out, the more pain they're going to cause themselves.
Tony Seabrook, keep up the brilliant work you're doing there in WA for the Pastoralists and Graziers Association, and we'll chat again very soon, I have no doubt. Thanks, Tony.